to Deep Sleep Stories. Thank you to everyone who's been listening. If these stories help you relax or fall asleep, a short review, comment, or sharing the podcast with someone who might benefit is a simple and meaningful way to support the show so that we may continue to offer it for free. Now, take a slow, gentle breath and let's begin tonight's story.
Settle in and welcome to Deep Sleep Stories, where your only job is to rest as a gentle tale carries you toward sleep. Tonight, you'll drift into a quiet woodland bathhouse and follow a sleepy little fox as he discovers the soothing comfort of a warm, whispering shower. Let your body sink into whatever is supporting you now. Feel the softness beneath you, the way it holds your weight without asking anything in return. If your shoulders are lifted, allow them to drop, as if they're remembering how to be heavy. Let your jaw loosen. Let your tongue rest in the easy, natural place it prefers. Take a slow breath in as if you're sipping warm air, and breathe out as if you're letting go of a long-held secret. Nothing dramatic, just a gentle release. Another slow breath in, another soft breath out. With each exhale, imagine a small knot of effort untangling inside you. Around you, the world can be exactly as it is. Sounds can come and go. Thoughts can rise and drift away like pale steam. You don't have to chase them. You don't have to solve anything. You can simply be here, breathing, relaxing, and letting the story do the work. Picture a night that is kind and unhurried. A night with clouds like folded blankets and air that feels clean and new. Somewhere, rain has recently passed through, leaving everything damp and shining as if the forest has been freshly rinsed. The scent of wet leaves lingers, earthy and comforting, and the hush after rainfall feels like the moment right before a lullaby begins. And now, as your breath grows slower and softer, you can allow the tale to begin. In a forest not too far from the edge of dreaming, the trees stood close together like old friends sharing warmth. Their branches knitted overhead, a gentle ceiling of needles and leaves, holding pockets of darkness and glimmers of moonlight. The ground was springy with moss, and it remembered every footfall as a quiet, tender impression. A small fox moved through this forest with careful ease. His coat was the color of autumn embers, dulled at the edges by the night's cool mist. His paws made almost no sound as he padded along a familiar path that wandered between ferns and stones. If anyone had been awake enough to watch him, they might have noticed how slowly he walked, how his tail floated behind him, as if it too was sleepy. He'd been out late, following the gentle pull of curiosity the way foxes sometimes do. Nose forward, ears swiveling, the whole world full of soft mysteries. He had visited a thicket where moths danced above tiny white flowers. He had paused at a fallen log, listening to the deep, patient language of beetles. He had tasted the cool air near a stream and felt the night settle into his fur like a shawl. Now, though, his eyelids were heavy. His steps were warm with fatigue. He longed for something comforting, something that would rinse away the forest's dust and make his muscles loose and calm, as if the night itself could wash him clean. He followed a faint, familiar scent, mineral-rich water and smooth stone with the soft undertone of lavender that grew wild near the springs. The scent guided him deeper between the trees until the forest changed its posture. The ground became more stony, the moss thinner. The air grew warmer, and a delicate fog began to appear, drifting in pale ribbons between trunks. In a small clearing, nestled as though the forest had decided to keep a secret, stood a little bathhouse. It wasn't grand, it wasn't bright. It didn't look like something built to impress anyone. Instead, it looked as if it had always belonged there. The walls were made of wood, aged to a gentle gray, and the roof was thick with green growth, soft and living. Mushrooms dotted the edges like tiny lanterns, their pale caps catching the moonlight. A stone path led to a door that sat slightly crooked in its frame in the most charming way, like a smile with a dimple. The fox paused at the edge of the clearing. He lifted his nose and inhaled. The warmth from within the bathhouse rolled out in an inviting breath, carrying the quiet fragrance of steam and clean water. Somewhere inside he could hear it, a steady, soothing hush, like rainfall in miniature. Not a storm, not even a brisk shower, just a delicate, consistent whisper of water falling. His ears tipped forward. His eyes softened. And with a gentle decision, he padded toward the door. The latch was an old piece of wood, polished by many visits. The fox pressed his nose against it, and it swung open with a small, friendly sigh. Inside, the bathhouse was dim and golden, lit by a few glowing stones, tucked into little niches along the walls. Their light wasn't harsh. It didn't demand attention. It simply warmed the shadows, turning the air into something honeyed and calm. The floor was smooth slate, slightly warm beneath his paws. A wooden bench sat along one wall, with folded towels made from soft, woven plant fibers. A bowl of dried herbs rested nearby, and the faintest curl of scent rose from it. Lavender, chamomile, pine. The fox stepped fully inside and let the door ease closed behind him. The sound of the forest fell away, replaced by the gentle hush of the bathhouse's heart. Water, always water. Speaking in the softest tone, he moved deeper in, following the sound until he reached a curtain made of thin, woven reeds. Steam drifted from behind it, and the air there felt like a warm sigh against his whiskers. He nudged the curtain aside and stepped through. In the center, a simple shower stood. Stood beneath a wooden spout that curved like a branch. Water poured down from it in a steady stream, and the droplets caught the light as they fell, each one a tiny bead of brightness before it vanished into the drain. The fox stood very still, watching. The water's sound was hypnotic, soft and constant, neither rushing nor slow, just right. Steam curled upward, and in it the air shimmered, making everything feel slightly dreamlike, as if the room were already half inside sleep. He took a careful step forward and extended one paw into the falling stream. The warmth surprised him in the best way. It was not too hot, not too cool. It felt like sun-warmed stone after a gentle day. He pressed his paw down, letting water slide between his toes, and a quiet pleasure moved through him. An instinctive, simple comfort. His shoulders lowered as if they had been holding up the whole evening. His tail settled. His breathing grew slow. He stepped fully beneath the shower. Water met his fur with a soft patter and then flowed, smoothing the ruffled edges of his coat. It traced along his ears, slid down his neck, and warmed the curve of his spine. Droplets gathered at the tips of his whiskers and fell one by one in tiny silvery offerings to the slate floor. The fox closed his eyes. At first, his mind still held little scraps of the forest, glimpses of moonlit leaves, the quick flutter of moth wings, the cool kiss of stream air. But the shower's steady song began to soften those thoughts. The water didn't ask him to remember anything. It didn't ask him to plan. It only asked him to stand there and be warmed. He lowered his head slightly, letting water run over his forehead and down his nose. It felt like the gentlest rain, but without the chill, without the wind. This was rain that had decided to become comfort. Steam wrapped around him. The room smelled of cedar like a calm cabin. The herbs in their bowl released faint sweetness into the air, carried by warmth. Somewhere, a tiny draft slipped through a crack in the stone, making the steam swirl lazily, as if it too were stretching before sleep. The fox shifted his paws, turning in place slowly, letting the water reach each part of him. He lifted his head to catch more warmth under his chin, and the tension there dissolved. He leaned a shoulder into the stream, and it soothed the muscles beneath his fur. He stood very quietly, allowing time to move without him. In the bathhouse, there was no hurry. The shower did not change its mind. It did not sputter or surprise. It stayed steady and kind, offering the same gentle pattern again and again. Outside, the forest held stillness like a bowl holds water. Night birds settled in hidden places. Leaves stopped trembling. The moon watched, calm and pale. Its light filtered through branches and roof moss and steam, arriving softened like a hand resting on a forehead. As the fox stood under the water, something subtle began to happen. Something that would have felt strange anywhere else, but here felt perfectly natural. The sound of the shower deepened slightly, becoming richer, as if it carried more than just water. Beneath the steady patter, there was a whisper that almost sounded like a lullaby hummed without words. It wasn't a melody one could pin down. It was more like the memory of being sung to, the feeling of being safe. The fox's ears flicked once. His eyes remained closed. His body understood before his mind did. This bathhouse was not only a place to wash, it was a place where the boundary between waking and dreaming grew thin and soft, like mist hovering above warm stones. He took a deeper breath, and his chest rose and fell slowly. The steam entered his lungs like gentle fog. When he exhaled, his breath joined the warm air, disappearing without effort. A small stool sat near the shower, made of smooth wood. The fox stepped out of the falling water for a moment and shook. just once, not too vigorously. Droplets scattered and then landed with quiet ticks on the slate. He padded over to the stool and placed his front paws on it, peering at a shelf carved into the stone wall. There were simple things there. A small clay dish of soap that smelled like wildflowers, a ladle, and a bowl filled with water infused with herbs and tiny petals. The fox nudged the dish with his nose, and the scent rose, soft and calming. He didn't need much, just enough to feel clean and cozy, as if he were preparing himself for a warm nest and deep sleep. He returned to the shower, stepping back under the stream. Water embraced him again. He rubbed the soap gently between his paws, creating a light foam that clung to his fur in soft patches. He worked slowly, as if every movement were part of a ritual meant to soothe. The lather carried the scent of meadow air. It reminded the fox of summer afternoons when he would lie in tall grass and listen to bees. It reminded him of sunlight filtered through leaves, of warmth that asked nothing. Even though it was night now, the memory of that calmness settled into him. He rinsed, letting the shower wash away the foam. Water ran clear and smooth, and his fur beneath felt lighter, softer, as if the evening's wandering had been gently erased. Then he tilted his head, letting water run over his ears, down the back of his neck. His eyes stayed closed, his mouth relaxed, his whole face softened into an expression that was almost a smile. The longer he stood there, the more the world became simple. Water, warmth, breath. And in that simplicity, the bathhouse seemed to offer him little gifts. The glowing stones in the wall niches dimmed slightly, as if they too were growing sleepy. The light became even softer, turning the steam into a floating veil. Shadows, rounded at the edges, becoming friendly, less defined. The sound of water gained a gentle echo, like it was singing in a small cave where everything was safe. The fox's thoughts grew slower. He began to forget what time felt like. He forgot the precise shape of the path he'd walked to get here. Those details drifted away like leaves on a stream. All that remained was the pleasant weight of warmth and the delicate rhythm of falling water. In the forest, there are places that hold old magic. Not bright, dramatic magic, but quiet, practical magic. Magic that keeps mushrooms glowing. Magic that helps a seed know when to sprout. Magic that makes a den feel warm, even when wind moves through the trees. This bathhouse held that kind of magic. It was said by creatures who spoke in rustles and chirps that the shower here was fed by an underground spring that flowed through stones rich with calm. The water carried the memory of deep earth, steady, unhurried, patient. It carried the softness of mineral layers that had been warmed by the world's slow heartbeat. And when it rose to the surface, it offered that steadiness to anyone who stood beneath it. The fox did not know these stories in words. He knew them in feeling, in the way his paws felt grounded on warm slate, in the way his muscles loosened as if they were gently untied, in the way his heart beat slow and sure. He leaned forward slightly, letting water stream down his forehead. Droplets slid over his closed eyelids, cooling them just a touch, then warmed again as they moved down his cheeks. It felt like a hand smoothing worry away. He thought briefly of his den, not as a place to return to with effort, but as a soft idea waiting for him. He imagined the hollow under a tree root where he slept, lined with dry grass and feathers he'd collected. He imagined the familiar scent of earth and fur and safety. The thought made him feel drowsier, as if even imagining rest was a step toward it. The shower continued. The bathhouse held him. At some point, the fox shifted into a sitting position beneath the water, folding his legs under him on the warm slate. He sat like a small statue of peace, letting the stream fall onto his head and run down his back. His tail curled around his paws. His ears relaxed outward. In this posture, he looked even sleepier, like a creature who had wandered into comfort and decided to stay. Steam thickened, then thinned, moving like a slow dance. The air felt velvety. The fox's fur, damp and clean, lay smooth against his body, holding warmth close. The bathhouse seemed to listen to him. A tiny drip somewhere in the stone matched the shower's rhythm, adding a soft accent. The drain gurgled very gently like a contented sigh. The wooden spout above him creaked almost imperceptibly, as if settling into a more comfortable position. The fox began to drift, not fully asleep, not fully awake. In that in-between place, images floated up like bubbles. He saw the forest as if from above, a dark ocean of trees with a silver moon sailing over it. He saw the stream he had visited earlier, winding like a ribbon. He saw his own paws leaving faint prints in moss. All of these images were calm, slow, and soft-edged, as though painted with watercolors. And then he saw something else. In his drifting vision, the shower's falling water looked like strands of light. Each droplet became a tiny lantern, falling in a steady curtain. When they touched his fur, they seemed to dissolve into warmth that spread through him like honey. A gentle, wordless understanding settled into the fox. He was safe. The forest was safe. The night was safe. There was nothing to do but rest. The fox's head dipped slightly. His chin hovered close to his chest. The shower continued to fall on the back of his head, and it felt like the softest tapping, like fingers playing a lullaby on a drum made of rain. He blinked slowly once, then let his eyes remain closed. In another corner of the washing room, a small window, just a square opening, looked out onto the forest. Through it, moonlight filtered in. The view was blurred by steam, turning the trees outside into gentle shapes, like silhouettes in a dream. The fox did not look at it directly, but its presence added to the feeling that the bathhouse belonged to the forest, and the forest belonged to the night, and the night belonged to rest. Time drifted. The fox stood again at some point, moving with slow care. He turned so the water could warm his back more fully, then his shoulders, then his sides. Each movement was unhurried, like a leaf slowly rotating as it falls. When he finally stepped out of the stream, he felt the air touch his wet fur. But the room was warm, and the sensation was pleasant, a gentle coolness that made him aware of how cozy he was. He shook once, softly. Droplets scattered like tiny stars. He padded to the wooden bench and climbed onto it, curling his body into a loose circle. A towel lay folded there, thick and soft. The fox nosed it and then nudged it around himself, half wrapping, half nest building, until it became a cozy blanket. Steam drifted around him still, though thinner now. The shower continued in the background, but its sound seemed farther away, as though it were part of the world rather than something happening right beside him. The fox's breathing slowed. His sides rose and fell with a gentle rhythm. His ears twitched once at a distant sound from the forest, perhaps an owl settling on a branch, but he did not feel the need to respond. He was tucked into warmth, clean and comfortable, and the night outside could take care of itself. He rested his head on his paws. In the soft glow, his fur looked like a small flame that had decided to become quiet. His tail curled closer, his nose, black and damp, pointed slightly toward the floor. He looked like a creature carved from the idea of coziness. The bathhouse, in its quiet way, seemed to approve. The glowing stones dimmed a little more, as if turning down the lights for sleep. The herb's scent remained faint, like a gentle reminder to relax. The fox's thoughts became slower still. If a memory rose of a path, of a sound, of something unfinished, it floated briefly and then dissolved in the warm air. The shower's steady whisper smoothed it away. The fox did not hold on to anything. He simply existed, warm and clean and safe, wrapped in a towel that felt like a nest. Outside, the forest remained in its nighttime calm. Leaves held still. The moon continued its quiet travel. The world did not demand attention. In the bathhouse, the fox's eyelids fluttered once, then settled. His breathing deepened. Each inhale was slow, each exhale slower, as if his body were learning the language of sleep. He drifted again into that in-between place where dreams begin to gather like soft birds, returning to a hidden roost. In his half-dream, the shower became a gentle rain falling on a field of wild flowers. He walked through it without getting cold. The rain warmed him instead, each droplet a tiny comfort. The flowers bowed under the water's touch, releasing sweet scents into the air. He felt peaceful. He felt light. Then the dream shifted softly, the way dreams do, without edges or explanation. Now he lay beneath a canopy of leaves that formed a green ceiling, and the shower's sound became the rustle of wind in branches somewhere nearby. Water trickled over stones in a slow musical way. The forest was not dark in this dream. It was softly lit, as if the moon had come closer, turning everything into silver and mossy green. The fox did not have to move. He did not have to seek anything. Comfort was already around him. Warmth was already inside him. He simply rested. Back in the waking world, the fox's body remained curled on the bench, wrapped in the towel. The shower continued to fall, steady and quiet. The steam thinned more, and the air became clearer, but still warm. The bathhouse felt like a small pocket of gentle weather, always mild, always soothing. Eventually, the shower's sound began to soften, not stopping suddenly, but easing down as if it too were getting sleepy. The stream became a gentler patter, then a quieter whisper. It was as if the bathhouse knew the fox had received enough warmth, enough calm, enough cleansing for one night. The fox remained asleep, and nothing in him felt the need to wake. The water dwindled to a slow trickle, then to occasional drops that fell like the last notes of a lullaby. The glowing stones dimmed further, leaving only the faintest warmth of light, like embers in a hearth after a long, cozy evening. The bathhouse grew quieter, the way a room does when everyone has finally drifted off and only peace remains. The fox's breathing was deep and even. His paws were tucked close. His tail was a soft curve. In sleep, he looked even smaller, even gentler, like a small storybook creature who had found exactly what he needed. The night outside continued. The forest held its steady hush, and within this quiet bathhouse, rest gathered like a warm blanket being pulled up gently to the chin. Now the tale begins to slow, the way a candle flame slows before it settles into a steady glow. The bathhouse remains, the sleeping fox remains, and everything becomes simpler, softer, quieter. The air is warm, the stone is warm, the towel is warm, the fox sleeps. His dreams drift like mist, light and untroubled. They do not need to make sense. They do not need to be remembered. They are only softness moving through him the way a breeze moves through leaves without effort. The forest keeps watch in its own quiet way. The moon glides on. Somewhere a small creature turns in its nest. Somewhere a branch creaks gently and settles again. In the bathhouse, everything is calm. The fox's ears do not twitch now. His whiskers do not quiver. His body is loose and heavy with sleep, as if the warmth has turned him into a little bundle of comfort. The last glowstone light is barely there, just enough to soften the darkness. And the darkness itself is kind, like a curtain drawn to keep the world quiet. If any thought lingers, it can fade. If any tension remains, it can melt. The fox sleeps, and the bathhouse rests with him, as if the room is breathing slowly too. In this gentle stillness, there is nothing else to do. Only rest, only drift, only sleep. Good night, dear traveler. Sleep well.